Good morning. Today is Tuesday, March the 31st. I hope you are well. Today I want to talk to you about, is there a difference between hearing and listening? And the reason I make that differentiation is because in the Bible there's this account of the prophet Samuel. And Samuel is under the care of Eli, a priest. And God is trying to speak to Samuel. God is trying to direct and guide Samuel in his life. And yet the first 3 times, Samuel hears the Lord, but he's not truly listening to the Lord. So our devotion for this morning, if you've got a Bible, go ahead and open it up with me. I'm going to be reading from 1 Samuel, the 3rd chapter today. Now the boy Samuel was ministering to the Lord under Eli. The word of the Lord was rare in those days. Visions were not widespread. At that time, Eli, whose eyesight had begun to grow dim, so that he could not see, was lying down in his room. The lamp of God had not yet gone out, and Samuel was lying down in the temple of the Lord, where the ark of God was. Then the Lord called, "Samuel, Samuel." And he said, "Here I am," and ran to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you called me." But Eli said, "I did not call, lie down again." So Samuel went and lay down. The Lord called again, "Samuel, Samuel." And Samuel got up and went to Eli again and said, "Here I am, for you called me." But Eli said, "I did not call, my son, lie down again." Now Samuel did not yet know the Lord, for the word of the Lord had not yet been revealed to him. The Lord called Samuel again a 3rd time, and he got up and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you called me." Then Eli perceived that the Lord was calling the boy. Therefore Eli said to Samuel, "Go, lie down, and if he calls you, you shall say, 'Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening.'" So Samuel went and lay down in his place. Now the Lord came and stood there, calling as before, "Samuel, Samuel." And Samuel said, "Speak, for your servant is listening." Then the Lord said to Samuel, "See, I am about to do something in Israel that will make both ears of anyone who hears of it tingle." Did you catch the difference there? It's subtle, but it's real, and it's meaningful, I think, for our lives as well. God is speaking. God is trying to call out to Samuel in the middle of the night. And Samuel hears this voice, and he instinctively thinks it's Eli, the priest, speaking to him in the temple. So he rushes out and calls out to Eli, "Here I am, you're calling for me." We believe Samuel is about 11 years old when this event takes place. This happens 3 times. Every time in the night, God calls out to Samuel, and every time that he does this, Samuel is hearing God's call. He's hearing the voice, but I don't think he's really listening. He's not listening for God to direct him in his life. Now, after 3 times, Eli, he knows what's going on. He knows that God is at work. He knows that God is trying to direct Samuel and speak to Samuel. So he says simply to this young boy, Samuel, next time that you hear this voice calling to you, simply say, "Speak, Lord. Direct my life, Lord." Now, I think most of us, we can sometimes expect God to come in, and we can sometimes expect almost God to hit us over the head, that we expect God to give us these big clear signs of what God wants us to do in our lives. And we want things to be made so incredibly distinct and clear. But a lot of times we miss God's direction. We miss God trying to speak to us, and we can miss God trying to direct us in our lives. And if we were to take that advice from Eli and say every day, "Here I am, Lord, speak to me. Speak into my life and speak some direction into my life," and then truly listen, not just hear, but try to listen to what God is trying to say to you. Now, many of us are at different moments in different parts of our lives. Some of us are in moments of transition. I'm thinking of those seniors in high school, a moment of transition that's coming up. Some of us are contemplating retirement. Some of us are contemplating big moves coming up in our lives. Myself, I have a transition coming up this summer. My family and I will be moving to Nebraska, and every day I try to not only hear God, but listen to God, to try and understand where God is speaking into my life and where God is trying to lead me. Now, this is not always simple, and sometimes this is very difficult to do, and sometimes I think we get it wrong, but I'm convinced that God is constantly speaking to us. God is constantly trying to move our lives. God is constantly trying to take us by the hand and guide us along the path that God so desperately wants to lead us in this world and lead our lives to make differences in the world. So today, may you not only hear the Lord, but may you listen to the Lord as well. Thank you for joining me this morning in the devotion. Hope to see you again tomorrow. God bless.